Um, Good evening and welcome to the CASAA update for the week of 1/18/2016. Hi, Alex. What's new and exciting this week?
All kinds of things. So for anybody that hasn't heard, I spent my Sunday morning at a pretty awful anti-vaping rally in New York City. Again, a special thank you for Jeff Steyer and Gregory Conley for attending and helping out. It was absolute pleasure to hang out with them. And in case anybody hadn't already heard, Jeff Steyer is actually a resident in the district in which this rally was held.
Oh,
And that kind of made his participation even more relevant because, much like meeting with lawmakers or anything like that, it's always a lot more impactful, and in some cases, it's required to have somebody that actually lives in that district. So he brings his residents to the event, and actually likely has personal relationships with some of the people that were putting this thing on. So
mhm.
that was especially significant, and so again, much appreciated for their participation. And of course, we had a few just New York City vapors, and a couple of retailers showed up as well. Um, and thanks to Spike Bobane, who actually managed to get herself positioned directly behind the podium with a very good sign, um, kind of telling the truth about this issue. So yeah, it was a New York City thing. There's been a lot of social media traffic on the posts that we've put up. I would generally call it a success for us, and of course, just by virtue of the misinformation that they were spouting at the event, it's sort of a failure right out of the gates for them. And Yeah, so it was a good time. I actually got to put my business card in the hand of Letitia James, um, and I think there was another a woman that was there. I think she lives in the neighborhood as well, and she turned to me at one point and she said, "Are these things dangerous?" And I said no, not really. I quit smoking after 21 years using an electronic cigarette. And she said, "Yeah, that's good to hear. My brother it quit smoking using one of these things, and I hope it really works for him." And so, you know, this was just some person off the street that really, I think, was just aware that the event was going on, and wanted to check it out. But
Right.
always good to have those conversations with outside the kind of core vaping community people.
Yeah, exactly. Oh,
So yeah, it was a good way to spend a Sunday morning. If there are any anti E-Cig rallies in your neighborhood, I highly recommend attending. Um, it's and by all means reach out to me or Greg, and we can help you out with some pointers, as far as what to bring, how to act, how to dress, what to prepare for,
mhm.
those types of things. And I honestly kind of see this stuff happening a little bit more frequently, um, as we get down to the wire here.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that was good. And of course, today it's a day off for a lot of people. But if you're working on legislative issues, you try to take that time while uh, lots of policymaking bodies are in. Well, they have the day off, so
Right.
fortunately, nothing moved today, but
Hmm.
there's no shortage of stuff to do.
Oh, no. Of course
Um,
not.
so tonight, I just got finished. Um, let's see, I updated a couple of things. We just put out a call to action for Athens-Clarke County, Georgia.
Right.
Um, they are meeting tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. And this is kind of this falls under, I guess, early warning. Um, the mayor and commissioners are being requested to update the county's smoking ordinance. So there's not I didn't see any real language. There's no actual ordinance yet, but there's a report that's going to be presented, and it's happening during a section of the agenda where residents can get up and speak. So if you live in the Athens-Clarke County area, please make plans to attend that commissioners meeting and take that opportunity to speak. If not, the county government has an agenda comment form, which we have a link to on our call to action, and of course all the relevant emails and phone numbers for everybody from the mayor, including her executive assistant, which oftentimes it's actually more beneficial to put communications in the hands of staff.
Right.
So yes, Athens-Clarke County, Georgia, take action. And then we have El Monte, California. This is sort of a second alert. This is kind of a particularly horrible ordinance for people who didn't get the first alert. It's ordinance number 2871, and this would prohibit vaping in condominiums, apartments, other multi-unit residences. And this goes as far as to prohibit vaping on like your private porch or patio. So yeah, that's a pretty good example of overreach,
A little bit, yeah.
Especially concerning vaping, which actually reminds me of something else that happened yesterday. I'm just kind of, I'm imagining standing out on your back porch and having a vape, and the apple turnover goes floating into somebody else's apartment next door, and the humanities, right? So I was standing about 15-20 feet away from Assemblywoman Linda Rosenthal while we were out on the sidewalk after the event, and I kind of saw her, she kind of waved her hand in front of her face a little bit, and she turned to one of her friends. She's like, "I can smell it. It's disgusting." And I mean, I'm vaping something it's a peanut butter and banana flavor.
How dare you?
If you've got a problem with, I don't know about you guys, but I'll tell you what, a toasted peanut butter, honey, and banana sandwich, that's heaven.
I've never had one, but I think there's something wrong with these people. I mean, like mentally wrong with people who have a problem with food odors. Because most of what we use for vaping, the flavoring is food flavoring. So they have a problem with the scent of flavor. They're not going to do well in life. They're really not.
If I was vaping, like chicken tandoori flavor, that might seem a little out of place. But well, I don't know.
Chicken tandoori. I don't even want to imagine who would make that.
I'm sure there's someone out there.
Good God. Oh, boy. I think those people I really do. I think they have a mental disorder. I really do. And I know that sounds like a horrible thing to say about the esteemed Assemblywoman Linda Rosenthal, which I wasn't, but I was just saying people who react like that to scents. Don't get me wrong, I work in a grocery store, and there's a lot of scents that come off a lot of the products, and they're unpleasant, but I have two legs. I can walk away. That's what an adult does. Just saying.
Yeah, and outside on the sidewalk, you can be somewhat assured that, first of all, in New York City, the smell of peanut butter and banana floating down the street is sort of a relief. Okay, I know it's January and it's freezing outside, so we're not getting the full frontal exposure of normal garbage day odors around here, but trust me, any day of the week that you're smelling, baked goods or delicious sandwich, it's kind of a treat.
Well, it is better because it kind of, I remember living in New York as a teenager, it kind of has a baked urine smell on its best day
That's
during the
one way to
summer.
put it. Yeah.
So I don't know any other way to put it. Yeah, anything that doesn't smell like that is a vast improvement. Or the
Absolutely.
traffic fumes; those are pretty noxious. Those are
I'm
pretty.
I'm I'm weird. I like the smell of auto exhaust, so
Yeah, but I'm
that's
just saying,
weird.
in comparison,
Yeah, exactly.
the lovely odor of like puff pastry, maybe bear claw, or a peanut butter and banana sandwich versus the smell of diesel exhaust.
Yeah,
I don't know which one I'd have a bigger problem with. Come on. These people are just looking for an excuse so they can put on a show.
yeah. So, um, yeah, enough with the funny stories. I I don't really have any state stuff other than Florida to talk about, and I should probably, I guess, clarify something because we've been getting a lot of feedback about this. Um, the Florida Indoor Clean Air Bill. Let me just get this up so I am giving. Sorry, bear with me here.
No worries.
Um, so it is HB 1143, and we sent out an email alert to the entire state. Um, so tomorrow at 4 o'clock, Tuesday, January 19th,
Right.
there is a health quality subcommittee hearing. And just to put it out there, this is at 306 House Office Building. That's room 306 in the House Office Building,
Okay.
402 South Monroe Street, Tallahassee, Florida.
Right.
This is likely the first of three committees that this bill will go through. And our general feeling, and based on feedback that we've gotten from the state level group there, Florida Smoke Free Association, um, is that pretty much no matter what we do, or how many people we activate, or how many people that show up, this bill is probably going to pass through this committee just to kind of keep it alive. This is actually kind of typical for stuff that lawmakers know is going to have several opportunities to be heard and amended and so on. The first one is kind of just a wash. There's no real point in rallying the troops.
Right.
So what we've done is, we alerted the entire state, and if you can make it, by all means, drive up to Tallahassee. And if you're particularly motivated to speak, send an email to td@flsmokefree.org. They're probably going to pick maybe 3 or 4 people to speak. That I would assume probably by now they've already got folks lined up. But
Mm-hmm.
um, so there's that. And then what we did was we followed up with people who live in districts represented by someone on the committee. Um,
Right.
Much like what I was saying about Jeff Steyer attending the rally last night,
Mm-hmm.
residents from districts are going to have, their messages are going to carry a little bit more weight, in some cases a lot more weight,
Right.
than someone outside of the district. So we intentionally kind of limited participation on this one because in the event that this gets further along in the process, we want all of Florida to come back. And we got a lot of members in Florida, and I've
Mm-hmm.
said this a couple times before. For a state that has not until this point seen a credible state policy threat for vapor products, we have a ton of members. I think there was at one point we had just as many members in Florida that we had in California.
Wow.
And California is sort of a never-ending parade of nonsense.
Yeah.
So, special thanks to anybody in Florida that's been generating CASAA membership. That's great. But we want to kind of make sure that we're actually giving you something to do when it's going to have the most impact. So that's the best explanation I can give for this, and I hope people are understanding. And when the time is right, we'll send up the
Attack!
alarm.
Attack!
Yeah. um,
Yeah.
so yeah, that's Florida. I'm interested to see how things go tomorrow, and we'll update that as soon as we get more information. Um, let's see. I guess the other things that I am trying to pay attention to this year, well, not trying to pay attention to, is the stuff that I'm very concerned about and getting a grip on is, so from odd number years to even number years, and depending on the states, not all states meet every single year. And in a lot of cases, what you'll have is carryover sessions. And in some of these cases, you have sort of shorter legislative sessions. So bills move really quickly. And a lot of times these are bills that are carried over from the previous session. So I have been spending some time this weekend looking at Hawaii, and it's Hawaii. They have tons of bills.
Yeah, they do.
And the process it actually moves quick on a good day. So it's actually kind of difficult to follow. But just kind of something for people to be aware of, that pay attention to your state's legislative calendar, because it's likely that you're going to be looking at a sort of a lightning round, and a lot of bills are getting carried over from last year, which means they're already sort of part of the way through the process. Right. So that's something that I'm working hard to stay on top of this year, and obviously the more eyes that we have on this stuff, the better. And that also reminded me of one more thing. I don't want to drag on too long, but in all of my researching, I actually looked at a bill, and it's going to take me too long to go back and find it here. But there is a bill in the Senate, the U.S. Senate, that was introduced by Richard Blumenthal, of course. It doesn't look like there's much happening with it right now, so we're not even going to treat this as a threat. But there's a pretty interesting section in there, and I think this is something for people to be aware of as well going forward. So just kind of putting it out there to maybe start the discussion and hopefully kind of wake people up a little bit. The language in this section. The bill itself is meant to equalize tobacco taxes for all tobacco products.
Parity. They want tobacco parity across the board.
Exactly. It's tax parity or equalization, however you want to word that. And I actually ran some numbers. I was looking at, a can of snus that I have, the tax on, was it discrete single packet snuff,
that's usually pretty much lower.
Yeah,
than generals.
This would be it's a new definition. They have a tax on moist snuff, which is a weight based, but this is sort of a per unit based thing, and it was like per 1,000 units, and it would practically double the cost of a tin of snus. So I think, now like a can of this particular brand, I think is around $3, and this would add something like $2.50 to it. So yeah, that's just one part of it. But they are actually, this bill would update the taxes applied to tobacco products to include Swedish snus and other single unit packet style moist tobacco products. And then there's another section where they include any products deemed to be tobacco by the Food and Drug Administration.
That's their definition?
I'm just paraphrasing. But essentially, that would include vapor products if and when the FDA deeming regulations are enacted. So the FDA deeming regulations themselves wouldn't be enacting the taxes, but we can pretty much count on threats coming from the usual suspects, Senator Blumenthal being one of them,
Oh, yes.
to not only enact a tax on electronic cigarettes at the federal level, but push for tax parity. So kind of a complicated explanation. I hope I simplified that enough for people to understand. But yeah, the threat doesn't end with
Regulation.
with the FDA.
Taxation, too. Yay.
Yeah, exactly.
The joys of legitimacy.
Yep.
I guess that's what happens when you go from something that's a gray market, what I think what we were considered as a gray market product, not a black market product, not a approved product, so it's gray market, to not an approved, but like an FDA regulated marketplace. It's a very different world we're looking at that point.
I don't know. I choose to stick with legal product. Vapor products
Well, no,
are
it is legal. There's nothing illegal about it. It's just that it's not an FDA regulated marketplace. Does that make sense? Make more sense than?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I wasn't saying that it was a black market product or a great. It's an economic term. It wasn't meant to be anything else. So yeah. So I guess that's it.
Well, while we are on the subject of the FDA, I can't remember if we talked about this last week, but let's see. Well, I'll just try to cut some time here and say that we now have, I believe, 41 sponsors on HR 2058.
That's awesome.
41 to 43 sponsors. So we have updated our call to action on HR 2058.
Awesome.
And if you live in a district represented by one of the co-sponsors, we have provided. It's not on that. We have provided an opportunity for you to contact your lawmaker and give them some thanks for co-sponsoring this bill. Yeah, here we go. Thank an HR 2058 co-sponsor. Yeah. So, residents in Alaska, California, Florida, Georgia, Iowa, Illinois, Kansas, Kentucky, Maryland, Minnesota, Missouri, Montana, North Carolina, of course North Carolina, Nevada, yes. New York, Pennsylvania, South Carolina, Tennessee, of course Tennessee, Texas, Virginia, of course Virginia, Wisconsin and West Virginia. West Virginia and Kentucky also looking at tax bills this year. We'll be getting around to that probably soon. All of those, there are districts in those states, specific districts, not the entire state, but districts in those states where your representative has signed on as a co-sponsor. And please take the opportunity to send them a thank you letter. In fact, the thank you letters are having somewhat of an effect in Congress because these representatives are able to kind of talk to their colleagues and say, well, I got a bunch of thank you letters from my constituents. How about that? So it's kind of helping to keep the buzz alive about HR 2058. Yep. And this bill is still very much in play. And by all means, people should be supporting it and encouraging their representatives to co-sponsor.
Yeah, actually, my representative was one of the original co-sponsors. So yay.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Don't normally hear about that, so that was kind of a cool thing. So yeah. And I know there's stuff we could talk about for hours and hours, but I guess that's it for this week, Alex.
Yep, sorry to go so long, but
no.
It was an exciting weekend. So
well, it sounds like it was an exciting time. And I'm thrilled to know that New York officials are concerned by, scent pollution. So Thank you so much for everything you do for us, Alex, and we'll see you next week.
Great, thanks.
Thank you.